Distant gunfire is a common sound in the Wasteland, the pop and boom of distant battles carrying across the empty cities and silent fields. But every once in a while, something else stands out. A buzzing crack, a flash of dazzling red or green, and the smell of burnt flesh. These are no standard firearms. They're something more. When a shotgun can't cut it, and an assault rifle is simply outclassed, there is one type of armament in Fallout that can guarantee survival against anything that goes bump in the night: energy weapons. Wonders of old-world engineering and occasional Wasteland jury-rigging, these high-powered arms are first in their class when it comes to dealing death from afar, and anyone worth their salt in the Wasteland knows a thing or two about them. From how they're made, to how they look, to how many holes they can put in a charging Deathclaw, here is a summary of every energy weapon in Fallout. The most common type of energy weapon in any Wasteland, lasers are the simplest of the lot, widely available and able to be operated by all but the most clueless shooters. Developed before the Great War by both military and civilian arms companies, laser weapons were an increasingly widespread sight by the time the bombs dropped, and their rugged, blocky construction ensured that they long outlasted their creators. Powerful and reliable, all laser weapons are accurate, armor-piercing weapons capable of outputting enough energy to reduce a target to ash in only a few well-placed blasts. Laser rifles and pistols fire a single red crackling beam of energy with each pull of the trigger. Though unimpressive to look at, they have a few advantages over their more traditional cousins, namely their accuracy and firepower. A laser rifle is extremely accurate, lacking any bullet drop or lead time, meaning it's as simple as pointing and shooting at whatever you'd like to disintegrate. On the subject of disintegration, the laser rifle and pistol have the added advantage of burning through tough armor and thick hides, giving them advanced armor-piercing ability. The main disadvantage of these weapons is that their damage output is ultimately limited by their low rate of fire, with faster firing weapons able to fend off hordes of weaker foes. Their main selling point, accuracy, can also be affected if they've suffered wear and damage, misaligning their focusing lenses and causing significant spread and heat leakage. A solid choice for any energy enthusiast, as most merchants in major settlements should have a few ancient models in stock for an affordable price and enough fusion cells to make your foes think twice. Developed as a way to offset the low rate of fire of the standard laser rifle, both the Tri-Laser and RCW offer many smaller beams instead of one powerful one. Firing 3 shots with a slight spread, the Tri-Laser is a less accurate but more powerful version of the laser rifle, acting almost like a long-range shotgun. Excellent both for dealing with groups and for downing tougher foes, their main drawback is a greater energy demand and a noticeable rarity. Only the most dedicated laser enthusiasts carry one. The Laser RCW, or Rapid Capacitor Weapon, is true to its name, and is capable of unleashing lasers at an extreme rate. This is possible due to its unique design. Resembling an old-world antique Tommy gun, its drum magazine is actually a spinning wheel of high-energy capacitors. When fired, these capacitors each lock into place, fire a single blast, and are then cycled back through the magazine, with each capacitor firing many times per second, accounting for the RCW's blistering rate of fire. With 6 separate capacitors when compared to the laser rifle's usual one, it can fire more than 6 times as fast, with off time allowing them to cool as the weapon spits out lasers. However, the spinning mechanism results in a marked loss of accuracy, making this more of a spray-and-pray type weapon. The final evolution of advanced automatic laser weapons, the Gatling Laser, leaves up to its namesake, a terrifying heavy weapon designed to be used with power armor. With either 3 fixed or 2 rotating barrels, the Gatling Laser is held low, its blocky profile usually held at around hip height, unlike the previous rifle designs, which could be shoulder-fired. So great is a Gatling Laser's energy demands, it requires either a bulky energy pack to be strapped to its operator's back, or a highly explosive fusion core slug. The reason? This weapon is the pinnacle of fast-firing laser technology, blasting high-energy bolts with a speed that would make any laser-crazed Brotherhood paladin blush. Though individually weaker than a laser rifle's shots, they are far, far more numerous. Absolutely deadly against large numbers of lightly armored foes, the Gatling Laser provides an effective alternative to the minigun, its ballistic cousin and fellow titan of destruction. Even more rare than the Tri-Beam or RCW, the Gatling Laser is only carried by the largest and most well-established factions, with its most notable users being the Brotherhood of Steel, though there are still some well-cared-for models swirling around the Wasteland's black markets and mercenary hubs. Whereas the advanced laser weapons mentioned previously were all widely manufactured and distributed pre-war, meant for military combat, there are other lasers out in Wasteland circulation that are more unusual, either in their experimental design or duct tape chic construction. A slapdash, jury-rigged energy weapon popular in Boston's Commonwealth, the laser musket is an unusual piece to be sure, consisting of a salvaged laser-focusing barrel mounted on a wooden stock, often with duct tape or hastily bolted fasteners, and a crank loading mechanism. It's clearly something survivors ended up creating after the bombs dropped. Instead of plugging in a microfusion cell like a standard laser rifle, they are drained with each spin of its attached crank, filling a transparent capacitor at its back with an energetic red glow. If cranked over and over, it can consume many times the energy of a single laser rifle shot, its improvised systems burning hot to the touch. When finally fired in this state, the laser musket roars like thunder as it unleashes a wide, barely held together beam of impressive strength, capable of even greater armor-penetrating feats than standard laser weaponry. Few foes can withstand a fully charged blast from this humble weapon, and it remains very accurate despite its questionable construction. Indeed, no two laser muskets are exactly alike, with many built by their users or otherwise looted from their bodies. In practice, they all trade speed for power, only being able to fire off a shot every few seconds, but making up for it with sheer stopping power. The downside of all this power is that they're less efficient than purpose-built models, consuming far more charges per shot than a standard laser rifle, and shedding that energy when not in use. This means that if a shooter packing a laser musket is ever ambushed, they'll have to waste valuable time charging it up to full strength, and in the deadly firefights of Fallout, that might be time they can't afford to lose. Recharger weapons follow the exact opposite design philosophy of the musket. They're highly advanced pieces of fragile tech that trade power for utility. Unlike other laser weapons, recharger rifles and pistols don't take microfusion or energy cells to power. In fact, they don't take any ammunition at all, instead being powered by a self-charging reactor, giving them effectively limitless ammunition. The main trade-offs are that it takes time to charge their capacitors, with a single shot taking about a second to recharge, and their generally low damage output, with rechargers having some difficulty penetrating armor or wounding tougher beasts. They make great energy weapons for anyone traveling outside the glow of civilization, allowing them to travel light without having to worry about draining their supplies, fending off smaller beasts, and the occasional raider. Though if a Deathclaw comes down on you and all you've got is your trusty recharger rifle on hand, you can kiss your ass goodbye. The laser-assisted electrical rifle is an advanced form of laser rifle only found in the research labs of Big MT in the Mojave Wasteland. Only existing in the prototype stage, it looks like something cobbled together out of an old sci-fi B-movie, all rounded angles and chrome finishes, with a large dish emitter for a barrel. Don't let its ridiculous appearance fool you, however. Like everything produced by Big Mountain, it's as unstable as it is deadly. Firing blue, crackling beams of energy, the LAER packs enough of a punch to even the odds against the twisted denizens of the Big MT crater, but lacks the rugged construction of standard laser rifles. The housing warps, the focusing emitter bends, and the small basket that holds its microfusion cell comes loose from its mounting. It was never designed for field combat and is more of a research piece, requiring constant maintenance to use effectively. Still, the siren song of that glittering blue laser means that most who come across one of these advanced pieces of tech keep it around, since there are few problems a laser-assisted electrical rifle can't solve. Plasma weapons are a more experimental platform when compared to the more common lasers. Instead of firing a beam of light, they instead cast a bolt of superheated plasma at their targets, burning and bursting against anything they touch, dealing horrific damage to both soft and hard targets alike. While some models accept the same ammunition as laser weapons, drawing the matter needed to generate plasma from the surrounding air, others require dedicated glowing green plasma cartridges, further differentiating them from their more common kin. The basic plasma rifle and pistol don't look like they should be able to function. Tangles of exposed wiring, rusted metal, and charging ports welded onto a handle. Your average plasma weapon looks like it's barely out of the prototype stage. This doesn't damage their effectiveness, however, as the unstable green bolts they fire are capable of reducing anything unfortunate enough to be hit to a pile of glowing sludge. These bolts are slow and inaccurate, often spraying wide and slamming into cover, tearing huge molten chunks out of even reinforced concrete. This makes wielding a plasma rifle or pistol quite difficult, as the travel time and innate inaccuracy make actually hitting anything outside of medium range a challenge. The high-energy nature of plasma also means it takes much more energy to produce, with the average rifle taking twice the microfusion charge to fire when compared to a laser rifle or pistol, or requiring their own plasma supply. The upside to all this is that when they hit, plasma weapons are devastating, melting through armor and burning anything underneath beyond recognition. If that wasn't already enough, a common modification of the standard plasma rifle is the multiplas, firing 3 shots for every trigger pull at the cost of even worse accuracy and even more devastating collateral damage. Anyone on the receiving end of a plasma rifle should pray that the one shooting it isn't any sort of deadeye, or they're in for a quick and nasty death that will tear through cover, armor, and flesh, ending any fight in a few wild shots. Finally, plasma technology also allowed for the creation of plasma grenades, pressurized tanks of plasma fuel that could burst to devastating effect, scattering scorching green globs of the stuff across a wide area. Like lasers, plasma technology was also used to create heavy weapons, which saw great success both pre- and post-war. Well suited to the heavy weapon role due to their inherent inaccuracy and huge power requirements, the most common heavy plasma weapon would be the plasma caster. Much more advanced than the rifle or pistol, the caster is a full production model with contained housings and better ergonomics than its predecessors. Slung low like a minigun or Gatling laser, the caster can unleash slow and steady bolts of much greater power and accuracy than its smaller counterparts, making it more of a precision weapon. The main reason for this increased reliability was the inclusion of the 3 stabilizing claws at its tip, lined with electromagnets that compress and spin the bolt, making it fly faster and straighter than the unstabilized rifles. More popular on the West Coast, plasma casters are still rare sights, often carried by the Brotherhood, Enclave, or wealthy and eccentric mercenaries. The opposite school of thought when developing heavy plasma weapons was to accept its inaccuracy and go all in on enhancing its damage potential. The result was the Gatling plasma. A round bulbous chamber with mounted handles and controls, the Gatling plasma doesn't really have much of a barrel to speak of, instead sporting a ring of rotating metal flaps that can open and close like a flower, directing the immense stream of plasma in the general direction its operator points it. With each bolt blending into the next, the withering, burning heat of the plasma Gatling's continuous blast can obliterate almost anything, putting even the destructive potential of the Gatling laser to shame. Of course, this comes with the problem of accuracy and range, as the beam dissipates at a distance and must lead its targets. That's of little concern to its operators, however, as they are most often the sort that aren't really concerned with things like ammo consumption or actually hitting their target. As long as they can rake the battlefield with wild abandon and reduce everything in sight to glowing green slag, they're satisfied, and the plasma Gatling is more than happy to provide. Probably the most conventional of all of Fallout's energy weapons, flamers and incinerators are fire-based weapons that use flammable chemicals to ignite enemies. The flamer is the closest to a traditional flamethrower, with a handheld nozzle connected to either a backpack or underslung fuel tank. When fired, it shoots a jet of flaming liquid in a wide arc, sticking to and burning anything it touches. The flamer is most useful against many unarmored opponents, as while it burns maddeningly hot, it's not enough to melt through armor or tough hides like a laser or plasma bolt. Even if it's not effective against the toughest foes the Wasteland can throw at you, it's undeniably an intimidating sight, with even the most chem-crazed raider or starving beast giving pause when faced with a wall of crackling flame. Incinerators, on the other hand, don't spray their payload continuously, like the flamer, but rather launch globs of ignited fuel over a greater distance. These fireballs splatter and burst upon impact, showering their target and anyone nearby with burning, sticky fuel. The main benefit of incinerators over flamers is their increased range and arcing shots, operating almost like an energy grenade launcher or mortar capable of firing over obstacles and devastating small groups. The compressed nature of their shots also means that they can punch through armor a bit more effectively, though they are no substitute for proper armor-piercing ordnance. These flame-based weapons may not be as devastating as plasma or as precise as a laser, but their inexpensive price tag and sheer intimidation factor make them a staple amongst desperate survivalists and raider gangs alike. Though most of the previous weapons were powered by some sort of electrical energy, they used that charge only to generate their damaging effect, firing a laser or superheating a plasma bolt. There is another class of energy weapon that utilizes this power directly, unleashing arcs of electricity to shock, scorch, and blow apart mechanical and meaty foes alike. Named after the world-famous inventor, Tesla weapons harness electrical arcs to devastate robotic enemies, while still packing enough of a punch to drop organic targets, burning through flesh or even causing an instant heart attack as countless volts course through them. The most common version of these Tesla weapons is the Tesla cannon, developed before the war as anti-tank artillery. Shoulder-mounted and cumbersome, the blocky cannon fires a single massive beam of energy, instantly smashing into its target and delivering a huge burst of heat and electromagnetic shock. Robots are particularly vulnerable as the EMP effect of its impact can fry their circuits. The more compact alternative to the mighty cannon is the humble rifle. Sporting a lighter construction and more traditional firing method, the Tesla rifle packs a weaker electrical charge in exchange for ease of use and a few interesting properties that its larger sibling lacks. Originally designed for use by combat robots such as the Assaultron and Sentrybot, the Tesla rifle's unique property is its ability to jump between enemies stuck by its arc, quickly seething through closely packed groups, shredding electronics and shocking organics. Highly customizable, they can be modified to fire multiple short-range blasts or charge long, devastating volleys. In addition, like the plasma weapons before them, the EMP effect from Tesla weapons could be used to create a grenade. Unlike the cannon or rifle, however, these EMP grenades deal very little physical damage, instead focusing all their power on scrambling robotic systems. As a result, any enterprising scrapper or tinkerer should keep a couple of these on hand. After all, you can get a lot more salvage out of a deactivated Protectron than one you had to blow apart with a volley of laser blasts. Pulse weapons are the final evolution of traditional direct energy weapons in Fallout. If there's something out there that absolutely, positively needs a watermelon-sized hole punched through its chest, these are how you make that happen. Firing a condensed electric slug, these weapons combine the advantages of both lasers and plasma. They come in two configurations, a pistol and rifle. Both operate under the same basic principles, but the pistol is only a low-powered prototype version of the rifle. It's still an impressive armor-piercing weapon with a sleek sci-fi aesthetic, but its range is tiny, and the small capacitors within can only hold a handful of shots before needing to be recharged. The pulse rifle is the true heavyweight in this category. A streamlined chrome piece with 3 coiled capacitors and a long, slender barrel that seems out of place amongst the grime and rust of the Wasteland. It is the strongest single-shot energy weapon on the West Coast, capable of melting through power armor like butter and blowing apart unarmored enemies with a single well-placed blast. It's also extremely rare and jealously guarded by technologically advanced factions, most notably the Enclave and Brotherhood. It's a good thing too, since if placed in the hands of an experienced marksman, their soldiers and paladins would be sitting ducks, their hundreds of pounds of tempered titanium as useless as tissue paper against this terror of a weapon. Anyone packing a pulse rifle is sure to attract attention wherever they go, both good and bad. After all, a gunslinger like that must have a legend behind them and a long, long list of people looking to take their iron from their cold, dead hands. If you have the king of energy weapons on hand, you'd best be ready to defend that crown. Though laser, plasma, and electric weapons are by far the most common and easily categorized energy weapons across the Fallout Wasteland, there are a few notable exceptions who fall outside of these definitions. Whether through their out-of-this-world origins or their unusual effects, these strange weapons refuse to be pinned down. Gamma guns are small, cobbled-together pistols designed and built by the radiation-worshipping cult known as the Children of Atom. As the name implies, the rickety-looking weapons don't fire a physical or energy projectile, instead launching a wave of radiation at its target. Devastating to humans and non-mutated wildlife, the concentrated radiation bombards their cells, causing rapidly worsening sickness and eventual death. While under the effects of this radiation, it's impossible for anything to heal, with old wounds reopening and new ones refusing to close. While horrifying to witness against its intended targets, the gamma gun is next to useless when facing robots, super mutants, ghouls, and other radioactive creatures. These enemies are either immune to radiation due to their artificial build, or are so heavily irradiated already that a gamma blast has no additional effect. It's no wonder then why these weapons are so rare, as only those religiously connected to the radiation would dare to use such a dangerous and fragile weapon. When their specialized gamma round ammunition is expended, they violently burn out and need to be quickly replaced to avoid damaging the rest of the gun. The Mesmetron is a device with questionable uses at the best of times. A large, chunky screen mounted to a pistol grip, this weapon bombards a target's brain with confusing signals. Originally designed by the pre-war Implied Hypnotics Inc. in association with the United States military, the Mesmetron was intended to brainwash and mind control its victims, subjugating them through the power of its unique brain-altering waves. When working correctly, a Mesmetron causes its target to become extremely confused, staggering and swaying from side to side, and becoming very susceptible to suggestion. In effect, you can tell a Mesmetron victim to do whatever you want, and they'll blindly follow your orders, their higher brain function suppressed by its waves. The main disadvantage of the Mesmetron is that it doesn't always work correctly. Its creators weren't able to iron out all of the kinks before the Great War stopped development, and there's a staggering 50% chance that using it has some extreme and unwanted side effects. The most common of these side effects is an inversion of the device's waves, driving the target into an insane frenzy of violence instead of calming them, which can quickly take an unsuspecting Mesmetron user by surprise. The other is a buildup of these waves in the target's cranium, bursting the skull and completely evaporating their head. The weaponized version of this device is known as the microwave emitter. Rather than attempting to do away with the Mesmetron's unhelpful tendency to blow up heads, some engineers leaned into it, creating a high-powered version that can deal tremendous damage. Ignoring any armor, the blasts of the microwave emitter resonate through the target's body directly, causing spectacular dismemberment when the waves finally prove to be too much for a target to handle. A unique energy weapon housed in Vault 111, the Cryolator was the Vault Overseer's attempt to create a portable cryogenic device, able to freeze people solid, much like the pods in his vault. His experiments were a success, not that he would live to see his device used. Another cobbled-together weapon, it's nothing pretty to look at, with exposed tape, pipes, and rusted metal covering its unfinished surface. The Cryolator is in effect a flamer that shoots supercooled nitrogen instead of burning fuel. It requires cryocells to function, which store the nitrogen under pressure and can be found in the hulls of firefighting protectrons and in more scientific settings. If desired, one can even make some improvements on the Overseer's original design, causing it to shoot solid crystals instead of a cloud of chilled gas, greatly increasing its range and direct damage potential. Far above the capital wasteland of Washington, D.C. hovers an enormous alien mothership, and aboard it is a suitable armory of energy weapons. From the rifle-like disintegrators to the small but deadly atomizer pistols, anyone who could get their hands on these weapons would be a terror back on Earth, with the alien technology functioning much like blue-beamed and overtuned laser weapons. The notable exception to this above-average performance is the Alien Blaster, which is capable of killing almost anything with a single headshot, as long as one can supply the extremely rare and limited alien power cells needed to charge it. Let us know what kind of energy weapon you'd be packing on an expedition into the Wasteland. Or, are you one of those real-gun Luddites who loves slinging hot lead more than a hot laser? Let us know down below.